Welcome. I am Dr. Ann Davis with Bible Interact, and if you have been going through all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, I applaud you. Mazel tov. So let's work on the letter Ayin. Ayin is a letter, but it's also a word. So the word represents the eye. The eye can see the surface of a matter, but it is also a window to the brain for disclosing depth of meaning or for understanding depth of meaning. So the eye has symbolic significance in the Hebrew scriptures. So here's the letter. You need to recognize the letter Ayin. The Paleo Hebrew is always fun to look at. The Paleo Hebrew looks like an eye. And the eye, I've got a picture here of the eye, not only looks out, but you can look in to the eye. The eye is an incredible part of the body. So Ayin is a letter, but it's also a word that means eye. Eye is a window to the brain. The eye can see the surface. Everybody can see the surface. But if you want to, the eye is able to penetrate to the depth of God, to a depth of understanding of God's Word. So let me show you here. We have on the left is Ayin, which is singular, and on the right is Einayim, which is eyes, plural. Einayim. So I want to start first with Ayin, which is singular for eye. And one of the Psalms says, keep. Now, keep is shamar, means to guard. Something's very precious. We need to guard it. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Now, let's look at the Hebrew because it really was fascinating. So we have K, Ishon, but Ayin. So the Ayin is the eye. The Ishon is actually it's not an apple. It's referring to the pupil of the eye. The pupil of the eye. Now another thing, if you know Hebrew, bat means daughter. So what's a daughter doing in here? Well, it has another meaning of a certain measure. So what we have here is that the pupil of the eye, is a measure of what the eye can see. That's basically what it's telling us here. Now we go over to the plural, Einayim, and we see Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. And so that's the plural, Einayim. But look at the Hebrew, because we have here, Be'enei. All right? And then follows Yud He Vav He Adonai. I say Adonai. Be'enei Adonai. Now, why isn't it Einayim? Because it's a word pair. And those of you who know Hebrew, when you put two nouns together, in English we say eyes of the Lord. So eyes is a noun, Lord is a noun, and we say the eyes of the Lord. All right? But in Hebrew, what you do is you take the ending and that sound changes. Instead of the im ending, it's a ending, and the sound changes. So, Be'enei Adonai. It's a word pair. So I'm just pointing that out for those of you who are learning Hebrew. Okay, so let's look at the eyes of the Lord. The eyes of the Lord, now, God, they're talking about God the Father. And God has no form. God has no eyes. So it's a figure of speech called anthropomorphism, which gives human characteristics to God. But it also, the Hebrew is just conveys incredible imagery and feeling and emotion. So the eyes of the Lord, and you just get a picture of God's eyes looking down at you. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, watching the evil and the good. In other words, He sees everything we do, and it's going to lead to the future judgment. And then I've got another one here. The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. And again, that's the judgment. So God's eyes are looking upon us at all times. And it, like a father is very proud when you walk in the ways of God, and kind of gnashing your teeth when your child does things that are naughty. Okay. All right, let's take a look here. We got power of perspective. We receive, we perceive. So perception is deeper than just seeing. And that's what the eye can do. The eye can do something deeper than just seeing. The eye is a window to the brain. So we receive an impression, and then we perceive the depth of meaning from that impression. And we have here, the eyes of both of them were opened, and that was in the creation account. And so certainly they were seeing with their eyes before, but now they're seeing a deeper meaning. And they were naked, which means they were exposed because of sin. That's what it meant. And they knew they were naked. Okay. Now we add a mem at the front, and you get Mayan. Mayan. And I'm going to show you that here. You broke open springs and torrents. You dried up rivers. So I have pictures here. These are all coming from Israel. The spring is where the story of Gideon, that came down, and Gideon said, drink from the spring, the water's coming out from deep under the ground. And those who acted like idol worship, they kneeled down and they acted like idol worship. He said, I don't want you. And it only left 400 who were drinking without it looking like idol worship. So the spring is important because it's coming from deep underground. By the way, that's there today. You can go there today, and it's a park. And when I went once, it was in the summer, and a lot of people were there in the park. They had their picnics. They were enjoying it. And it was kind of fun to be there with the Israelis to enjoy that spring, coming out from the depth of the ground. So the springs that's our word, Mayan, and the springs coming up from the depth of the ground, from deep darkness into light. Okay, because it's coming from the depth of the ground. Now, another thing I want to show you is really interesting, because this is something that if you go to Israel, you might buy this. It's called the evil eye. It's a hamsa, which is Arabic meaning 5, and let's see. But I want to show you the symbolism, because you can also find it in Israel. The Israelis use this also. Somebody brought one back for me as a gift from Israel. So what you have right here is the eye. See the eye? People think that the purpose of the hamsa is to place a curse on someone. That's not what it is at all. A person with an evil eye is selfish and self-centered. That's the meaning. You don't place a curse on someone. If a person has an evil eye, it means that they're selfish and self-centered. They're certainly not humble. All right. And then right here is the symbol for life, chai in Hebrew, chai for life. A person with a good eye is compassionate and thinks of others. So the eye can either be negative and selfish, or it can be compassionate with looking upon others. Now, another thing I wanted to show you was the tefillin, and you see the letter shin stands for El Shaddai. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontals on your forehead. So what they do is you put them between, there's the sign on your hand, but what I really wanted to show you was the frontal on the forehead. So, and and it goes between the two eyes, and therefore it's supposed to give you that wisdom that comes from the eyes that can look into the depth of something that's not just on the surface. It's placed on the forehead between the two eyes. So that's just some spiritual significance of the letter Ayin. So I do encourage you to go to the Bible Interact website, where you will find all kinds of teachings that we've put into categories to make it easy for you to find. Many people like Hebraic studies. That's not the language, that's just the Hebraic nature of Scripture. If you want to learn the language, we do offer beginner, intermediate, and advanced online courses in learning how to read biblical Hebrew, as well as courses on all kinds of biblical studies. With that, I will wish you shalom.